First, I would like to congratulate the 3 senior members of the Sangha in Dehong, Yunnan province, who will be elevated to a senior status on this auspicious occasion. May I offer to them my sincere and respectful, joyous greeting, Mudita Sakara. I also greet everyone at the conference to whom I wish I could speak in person today. My inability to be with you in person causes me much regret because I have many reasons to come to China. I have known the Theravada Buddhist leaders in Sipsongbana and Dehong. I have also been working with the Buddhist Association of China in Beijing, with the Most Venerable Shan, chairman of the Buddhist Association of China, and his assistant, Venerable Professor Dr. Yun for the International Association of Buddhist Universities, IABU, and the United Nations Day of Vesak, UNDV. I have also examined some PhD students from China in Buddhist studies. And I have been working closely with Professor Yun also in the project of the Common Buddhist Text, which we are going to launch this coming May. Given these close connection for many years with Buddhists and Buddhist leaders from China, I must apologize once again not to be there in person with you today at this Second Theravada Buddhist Forum. Now let me say something about my keynote speech, Buddhist Philosophy on Peace and Prosperity. I have given the title to my speech as From Mind Training to Peace and Prosperity. First, let me make a point that Theravada Buddhism, or Buddhism of all traditions for this matter, traces the sources of good and evil to the mind. It is in the mind that people in day-to-day life portray a kind of their individual life and the communal life they want to be in before they actually implement their ideas on this earth planet. So it is not something outside us, such as the creation theory, that Buddhism is concerned with, but what goes on in human mind, because human mind is the birthplace of all imaginations and ideas, be they compassionate one or destructive one. In other words, the behavior of a human being originates from his thought, and the consequences of his behavior are the very product of his thinking mind. Needless to say, therefore, that if our thinking is negative and destructive, that negative thought will be reflected in the way we speak and act in the society. Similarly, the seed of heaven is first grown in our mind before it's projected outside in our behaviors. In brief, what we think has an ethical implication as well as social and environmental consequences. This is why the Buddha states very clearly in one of the famous texts, the Dhammapada, which is available in both Pali and Chinese sources. I quote, "We are what we think, or what we are arises with our thought. With our thought, we make the world. Speak or act with impure mind. Trouble will follow you, as the wheel follows the ox that draws the cart. Mano popangama dhamma, mano setha mano maya, manasa padutena, pasati van karoti va, tatonam dukha manviti, jakkamwa vadopatan. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you, as your shadow unshakable." End quote. Dhammapada stanza number 1 and 2. And according to Theravada Buddhism, there's no doubt that the destiny of human being is linked to human behavior here on earth. I shall have the opportunity to comment more on this shortly. The second point I wish to state here is that with the leading role in our life given to the mind, it is obvious that the emphasis of Buddhist training and practice is to train the mind itself. And at the heart of the training is the cultivation of right attitude. Here, by right attitude, we are talking about 3 aspects. Firstly, that change is the feature of daily life. As biological science says, our cells and molecules in all living organisms change constantly, never stop even for a moment. The law of constant change applies also to the mind. Secondly, to be in harmony with change and not to be shaken by change, it is necessary to expect change, to expect that change will happen, and to see that change is not unique to any one particular person, ethnic group, or nation, but it is indeed universal to all and none. Change is called anicca in the Pali language, and its universal characteristic is known as anatta in Buddhist philosophy. The third component of the right attitude is the understanding that everything in this world is interconnected. This natural law of interdependency in human life is a key encompassing principle in Buddhist philosophy, and this is demonstrated in the Buddhist middle path called dependent origination, paticcasamuppada. Related to this point, there is an American Buddhist scholar by the name of Joanna Macy, who has studied the implication of this philosophy. Her PhD thesis, which has been published as a book under the title World as Lover and World as Self, uses the Buddhist teaching of the Paticcasamuppada to highlight interdependent co-arising between ecology and general systems theory. When our mind is not well informed about this link of interdependency, we cause dissatisfaction to ourselves and destruction to others and to the environment. Dissatisfaction and negative emotion can cause tension and conflict, or even war. War, repression, and aggression go together, hand in hand, as depicted in the famous novel of historical events in 18th century France by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens also depicted how the lack of peace and prosperity affected the people. So we can see from history that a selfish or aggressive thought of one person can lead to enormous destruction, particularly if that person is a very powerful person. On the contrary, if he is well connected with other people's problems, if he can feel their pain, this person can be a wise leader, solving many problems the world encounters. This right attitude of interconnectedness of people is the leading component of wisdom, panya, characterized as to see things as they are. It is about seeing that the resources of the world have a limit, that our behavior relating to these resources affects each other in this world. To see things as they are this way is crucial, because without seeing things as they are, our subconscious mind, the subconscious mind of human being, usually forces on the planet world something that is contradictory to its nature. Meaning, our selfish desire may impose on the world of limited resources a terrible burden. Thus, we can unnecessarily create tension and conflict within ourselves and with our environment. The consequences of the absence of such wisdom can be devastating. For example, a factory that has sprung up among the paddy field but neglects the environmental pollution and degradation cannot and will not last long. At first, it seems that the factory may well take the advantage of the short-term economic needs of the many and try to fulfill that, and therefore make a big investment. Yet at the same time, the management and the owner may fail to take into consideration of the other people's welfare, well-being, both human and environment. We can see how the water fitting many paddy fields in some countries get poisoned with deadly chemical leakage from a nearby factory. This is because the factory cares about nothing else except its own profit. This factory will create tension and social conflict with those affected by its irresponsible behavior. Another example is deforestation, logging. At times, we human beings care little about the trees that supply us with enough oxygen so that we can breathe. This careless deforestation happens all over the world, from Amazon to Europe to Asia to Australia. With the increase in demand for furniture and luxurious items made of hardwood. On this relationship and the importance of the trees, I'm told that for about 5 people to breathe, a big tree is needed to supply oxygen. And without trees, we suck the water into the underground. When there is a good rainfall, we are subject to more flood on the one hand, And on the other, as the ground is getting less and less water, there is also more likelihood of drought. We human beings are in the middle of two extreme natural disasters we create ourselves. Between an increase in drought and a frequent flood. Consideration for others and environment is called compassionate action in Buddhism. It should be taught from school age. Children should be taught how that destructive behavior causes their classmates to become distracted and affect the performance of the whole class. How that destructive behavior is linked to a negative emotion within, and how to manage that emotion through mindfulness. And as the children get older and go into a work environment, how an inconsiderate person can cause disharmony and unnecessary tension at work, affecting the work of the whole team, the whole company, the whole department. We know from Theravada Buddhist scriptures a greedy and selfish king and his corrupt minister, as depicted in the Tantula Nali Jataka, Jataka number 5, can cause trouble for the country. We also see in the Abhanaka Jataka, the Jataka number 1, story number 1, how a considerable and insightful leader looked after his own business as well as the business of his associate, and how the opposite figure, an inconsiderate and short-sighted leader, can lead his 500 associates to ruin. The considerate business leader was the Bodhisattva, our Buddha at that time. And sometime in some of his previous life, the Bodhisattva was an honest, considerate and smart business consultant. This is recorded in the Seheriwa Jataka, Jataka number 3. And at other time, he was a considerate and successful businessman, as recorded in the Jula Septi Jataka, which is Jataka story number 2. Moreover, in the early canonical sutras such as the Sihanada Sutta and the Kudatanda Sutta of the Digha Nikaya, the Buddha has made it absolutely clear that peace, prosperity, and morality are interconnected. So we have a good example from the Buddha in our own scriptures. In brief, there is connection between 3 factors: inner peace, wisdom, and prosperity that is harmonious with itself and with its environment. Here, wisdom captures moral and ethical behaviors that we call sila. Beginning with inner peace, we can look forward to establishing peace in the family, at work, in society, in our own nation, and internationally. This inner peace leads to and is sustained by right attitude. This teaching and contemplation, if sufficiently undertaken, helps us internalize in our thinking that the whole world is interconnected, that one cannot succeed and be at peace when one's neighbor is in trouble. This is how wisdom and compassion, panya and karuna, come together in day-to-day world. We can apply insight from the Buddha's teaching in daily life so that people can realize their potential with necessary resources of inner peace. Indeed, the Buddha's wisdom is being applied by many people in workplaces today. For example, people in the Western world are applying the resources of mindfulness meditation in different fields in order to help working people with an increasingly stressed out way of life. In the United States, in 1976, Professor John Kabat-Zinn, a physician from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, started using mindfulness to help his patients who suffer from chronic pain. That was to teach patients how to learn about pain and their reaction to pain. This way, one can stop multiplying the pain through subconscious mind when stress is unnecessarily increased and sustained. It was found that many people have benefited from the program, which has become known today as mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. About 20 years later, Professor John Kabat-Zinn founded the Center for Mindfulness in Medicine. 2 years ago, in October 2015, a researcher, Laura Bush-Holtz, wrote in her article in the Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA, number 314, under the title Exploring the Promise of Mindfulness as Medicine. I quote, "Today, close to 80% medical schools offer some element of mindfulness training and research, and education centers dedicated to mindfulness have proliferated." End quote. Returning to peace and development, as the chairman of the United Nations Economic and Social Council, Ambassador Frederick Shawan said last year, I quote, "Development is not possible without peace, and peace without development is fragile and at great risk." End quote. So sustainable development and peace cannot be separated in the long run. This is why the United Nations Economic and Social Council focuses on exchanges and partnership so that there will be opportunities for all, so that each nation feels secure and peaceful, striving for prosperity for themselves and for their neighbors. Venerable Mahasanghas, ladies and gentlemen, I should conclude here by saying that according to the fundamental philosophy of Theravada Buddhism, for prosperity to be achieved, individuals as well as communities, including the community of nations, need to coexist in harmony. For that to happen, all of us have a role to play. From this aspect, I am very pleased that the Theravada Buddhist communities in the Yunnan province, China, show great desire and real determination to play their role for peace and prosperity for many people.